Chapter 1. The First Rebels. Slavery in the New World began the day Christopher Columbus landed. "I took some of the natives by force," the explorer wrote in his diary on October 12, 1492. In 1498, British explorer John Cabot seized 3 Native Americans. By 1524, when Giovanni da Verrazzano arrived, he found Native Americans who are suspicious, hostile, and desirous of obtaining steel implements for defense against kidnappers who frequent the coast to seize and transport them to the Spanish islands of the West Indies. From Canada to Florida, forced Indian labor became a thriving European business in North America. Colonizing powers seized Indians and battled each other for domination of a continent. In the next century and a half, international wars engulfed the Americas. When Native American nations along the Atlantic coast were attacked by white settlers, their males were killed, and their widows and orphans were rounded up for sale or exchange. The French in the Ohio Valley, Louisiana Territory, and Canada became active traders. In 1684, King Louis XIV of France announced, "These savages are strong and robust," and ordered that Iroquois captives be made to serve on French vessels. In Canada, French officials enslaved Pawnees, and along the Mississippi Valley, they kidnapped the Natchez. In British America, the trade in Indians shaped colonial diplomatic, political, and economic policies. The money made by British slavers helped colonial commerce and filled colonial treasuries. Captive Indians became forced apprentices in Connecticut. They were given as pay and as bonuses to soldiers in Virginia and Massachusetts. In Rhode Island, Maryland, North Carolina, and South Carolina, they became the leading source of colonial revenue. The trade in Indian slaves, at first run by speculators, soon spread to governors, businessmen, and aristocrats. In 1712, North Carolina's Governor Hyde expressed his pleasure with the great advantage that may be made of slaves, there being many hundreds of them, women and children. 3 years later, South Carolina missionary the Reverend M. Johnson said, "Our military men were so desirous to enrich themselves by taking all the Indians slaves." Enslaving natives was not without severe problems. Relatives of the captured counterattacked or offered refuge to runaways. Indians were able to escape to the forests and hills they knew better than their masters. Relatives of those kidnapped living in heavily armed neighboring nations gave British frontier families nervous and sleepless nights. The colonists, convinced that this slave-taking threatened their lives, began to seek changes. Some demanded this slavery stop. Others insisted that local Indian captives be sold or shipped far from their homeland. Finally, colonial legislatures passed laws for transportation of seized Indians to distant lands. This would be the first, but not the last time, that resistance to the slave system would alter the rules governing the business. Long before they seized Africans, Europeans had learned it is best to keep slaves far from their homes and natural allies. Indians taken in New England were sent to the West Indies. Those seized in the South were traded in the Caribbean, New England, or the Middle Colonies. In 1707, the Governor and Council of South Carolina listed Boston, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, New York, and Virginia among places we export Indian slaves. Indian slavery began to decline. Native people died of disease and overwork. Nations retreated into the wilderness to fight. Condemnation of Indian slavery in the Spanish colonies by Bishop Bartolomé Las Casas in 1514, and his suggestion